FanDuel has the win total set at 4.5 wins for Vanderbilt. Smash the over.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. And on this episode, we're going to discuss why you should indeed hammer the over on 4.5 wins in 2025. For one, this is the most loaded roster they've had. Two is the Diego Pavia factor. And three, this defense is loaded, and I think will end up carrying the team a little bit as well. And who are the top playmakers on that defense? We're going to discuss all of that next. And then after that, and after an impressive weekend in Knoxville, how does Vandy stand in postseason? Can they host a regional? Are the Vandy boys in good position to make an Omaha-type run? We're going to discuss all that as well. And then we're going to wrap by breaking down Mark Byington's newest addition, Oklahoma transfer guard Duke Miles. Great addition to the program. This basketball team they're in really good shape right now. And I'm thinking I've got some big aspirations for them. But anyway, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And also today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's impressive. So speaking of impressive, speaking of FanDuel, here's what they came out with. And this is where it stands right now. Now, this could change, so you might want to take it while you can. The win total is the over-under set at 4.5. I'm telling you to take the over. I told you to take the over on 2.5 wins. You crushed that by a lot. Let's see, by 7 wins there. So that was quite impressive. I think you need to hit the over. I think they're going to win no less than 6. I think their floor and their ceiling are very close this year. I think their floor is about 6 wins. I think their ceiling is about 8, with a dark horse total of about, I think they have a chance to get to 9, depending on how Tennessee does and depending on some other things as well. So here's the thing that I really like. Okay. Now I get it. And I'm going to flash up the schedule here. I get it. The schedule is tough. It's, I think, the 5th toughest schedule in the country. You get your conference games alone. You get South Carolina with Lenore Sellers, but thankfully you get them early. Usually with a Frank Beamer type team, getting them earlier rather than later gives you a better chance at winning because they're like a diesel engine sometimes. It just takes them a minute to get there. Bama, that's going to be a revenge game on the road, so I don't know just how difficult that's going to be. A lot of people really like Ty Simpson as well. So I'm very intrigued by that game because I think, they're going to be hyper focused for this one since they lost it last year. LSU coming to Nashville. I think that's a very interesting game as well because it's at a point in about mid-October to where if things somehow, I don't know if they will, but if things somehow go off the rails for LSU, this could be kind of like that mutiny part of the season where things have gone south. They're starting to turn on Coach Kelly, and they just, transfer portal rumors and all that stuff, and just some things that you might see. There could be that factor because there's a lot of pressure on LSU right now. So that's, they're a talented team, so the likelihood of that happening is kind of slim, but there's always a chance for that. Missouri, have no idea what to expect from them. Bo Pribula is a quarterback that I'm very intrigued with, but I think the consensus right now is there's not a lot of faith in his ability there. So I think Missouri is going to take a step back. Vandy took them to double overtime a year ago with Brady Cook and Luther Burton. So there's that. And I think, you're going to have a chance to really come out of there on top. Texas is a team that they're getting a lot of praise. Number one in the country preseason, coming out of spring. They have the number one quarterback in a lot of people's eyes. If not, he's no worse than number 3 in some rankings, but he's anywhere from 1 to 3 as far as, coming out of spring and ranking of quarterbacks. So I'm very intrigued with this Texas team. You lose a lot in the draft, kind of like Ole Miss. You lose a lot in the draft. You just don't know how they're going to respond. They're well coached. They both got a unique situation at quarterback where you just don't know much about their quarterback, but they're super talented, and they don't quite have that core of guys. So, of course they just reload, but what does that really look like at Texas? So we'll see. Get a good view of that at Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium. Then you get Auburn, Kentucky, which is a pretty nice stretch, and Auburn could be completely done with Hugh Freeze at that point, and that could be the coordination of, I think that would be 4 or 5 wins against Hugh Freeze for Diego Pavia. Kentucky, they're a freaking wild card, man. I have no idea what to expect from Kentucky, but whatever I'm expecting is not much. And this could be very, very stressful for Mark Stoops there. And then at Tennessee, have no clue how they're going to react to Joey Aguilar. I don't know if he's even going to be the quarterback at that point. I just don't know. They're a super talented team. Just don't know much about them. So where are all the wins? Here, I'll put this back up. So you get, obviously, Charleston Southern, Georgia State, Utah State. That's 3 right there. So we got to get to, 5 to hit the bet. So I think you get your 4th against Virginia Tech. And then I think, your 5th is going to come against Kentucky. I think win 6 is going to be Auburn. I think win 7 is going to be Missouri. And then you have, the rest of the games to kind of get your 8th and 9th win. But, I think out of the remaining games, I think South Carolina is probably your best shot, followed by Tennessee, then LSU. And then Texas, I think, is your best shots to win one of those upset games. So I think you take the 4.5 right now. I think worst case scenario is 5 wins. Worst case scenario. Now, that's notwithstanding another Georgia State debacle, which I can't explain that one. I don't think I'm going to try to either. So this is very interesting. This, like I said, this is why else? Why do I think they're going to win those games? Why do I think they're going to beat Missouri? Why do I think they're going to beat South Carolina? Why do I think they're going to beat Auburn, Kentucky? Why do I think they have a really good shot against Tennessee? Well, first of all, the Diego Pavia factor. I think that's got to be a large reason because he brings everything together. He is the guy. He's the straw, as they say, the idiom. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the guy that gets everybody going. The run game's going to be on point. The offensive line is not only rebuilt and retooled, but it's freaking loaded, man. Those portal guys they got are pretty talented. I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited to see kind of what these wide receivers can do, and I'm very intrigued by the transfer portal guys that came in. I think this crop of transfer portal guys have more potential than last year's crop. I think you add those guys to Junior Sherrill. I think there's some chance to pop. You got a first-round tight end who's among, I think, now say what you want to say about PFF, but they came out with their All-American team. Eli Stowers was first team at tight end. So you got somebody super talented as one of your primary pass catchers, you're going to be pretty good. And your offense, I think, is going to be a lot more dynamic. It's going to have a lot more depth. I think you're going to see a team that's very much in the mix late in the season, whereas last year I don't think they had as much depth, so they couldn't quite do all that. So I'm very excited. Like I said, I'm very excited. FanDuel's presenting us with great odds here. I think they're presenting us with another win. They feel good about Vanderbilt. So smash the over, right? And I talked about this defense. This defense is freaking loaded, man. And I'm very excited about this defense. I'm very excited about the potential there is there. But who are the playmakers on defense that's going to make this happen? Why am I saying this? Here, let me show you. Now, Here's a list I quickly put together of the top 5 guys that I think will contribute the most on defense. I think it goes beyond this list. I could list all 11 guys on this, to be honest with you. So what I want you to do in the comments, let me know. Did I get this right? Did I leave somebody out? Is there like a glaring omission from this list? Like, like Nick Rinaldi's an honorable mention, which he would be probably number 6 on this list. Zaylen Wood, Keanu Coate, I think is on this list. I think your other corner, whoever ends up starting over there, I think there's some competition going on there. I think, Marlon Sewell, Dante Carter, CJ Hurd, I think are going to be playmakers. Those are all guys that, should get some mention. But I think you're probably your most important guy. Well, I don't know. I don't know how important, like how you would rank the importance of these guys. I think they're all, in their own way, number one. But I had to put somebody somewhere. So Randon Fontenette, I think, is probably your most important guy because he's kind of like a utility knife. He does everything. He is your line of scrimmage safety. He's the guy that's going to guard a slot. He's the guy that's going to play, a curl to flat type of zone. He's the guy that's going to come off the edge. You get some sacks. Like he's going to kind of be a kind of do it all, do everything type player that's going to be down in the box to the field. Like I think he can cover a lot of ground. I think there's a lot he can do. There's some sets where he can go back deep. He can play. He can rob the middle intermediate zone. He can do. He's smart enough to where he's well versed in this defense enough to where he can play some games, disguise coverages, things like that. But I think he's going to be able to do a lot of things for you. So I think you're in really good shape there with Randon Fontenette. Now, Langston and Patterson, with this defensive line built the way it's built up front, I think he's going to have a really, really nice year because I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of interference on him. I think he's going to be allowed to roam free a little bit, get downhill, make tackles. I think be able to scrape over the top, tackle the edge a little bit, and I think he's going to be able to have some more pass responsibility. I don't think he's going to have to blitz as much. I think he's going to get to play linebacker the way he wants to, and this guy's a freaking leader. This guy is the biggest expert in this defense. And so I'm very much excited to see kind of his impact and how this rebuilt defensive line in front of him is going to help him and his playing partner, Brian Longwell, how it's going to help them play the position a lot more effectively. So Martel Height is a guy that really stands out. He's kind of the do-it-all Travis Hunter type. He's going to contribute a little bit on offense. He's going to definitely contribute in special teams as a return specialist. And of course, his main job is going to be playing cornerback and locking down. I believe he's going to be the field corner as well. And he's going to switch. He's going to share time with whoever his backup is because he's going to be asked to play some wide receiver and he's going to make an impact on that side of the ball. So for his impact in all 3 phases of the game, he's definitely on this list. And I'm really, really excited to see what Martel Height can do as far as covering receivers, playing man-to-man, and then going out catching a 50-yard bomb and returning a punt to the house. What I would love to see Martel Height do is get a pick 6, catch a bomb, and return one to the house. Get 3 touchdowns, 1 in each phase of the game. That would be so sick if he could do that. But Martel Height, man, he's going to be legit. And then Miles Capers or really anybody at the edge position because I think you have Keanu Coate, you have Nick Rinaldi, just to name a few. I think this is going to be an important position. I think Miles Capers is the leader of this position because he's the guy coming back with the most experience. I guess you could say Nick Rinaldi, but I think Miles Capers is going to be the guy, the most impact player there. He's pictured here with Corday Sidnor, but I think this edge position is going to absolutely feast, and Miles Capers is going to pick right up where he left off. And to be honest, adding depth to that position gives you a lot of versatility as far as different defensive looks. I think if you get in passing situations, you can bring 2 edge guys on and have them both rush. You can do, you've got some depth pieces to where you can play some different guys there. And this is going to be a lot of fun seeing what Clark Lee and really Steve Gregory can do with this position. So I think this is going to be an impact position. And of course, Corday Sidnor is kind of the energy of the defensive front. I mean, he's very disruptive. He's very in your face. He's kind of the energy jolt that you need from that defensive end position. And he can play a 4 technique, 5 technique, but he's going to be a guy that's just you're just in for a rough day when 96 is in the game. So Corday Sidnor and then his counterpart Zaylen Wood, I think, is going to be very similar. Zaylen Wood is a little bit, when I say a little bit, not a whole lot, but he's a little bit smaller, faster version of what Corday Sidnor can be on that defensive end. So you're going to have really good down linemen, and of course, if you want to get in some speed sets, you can throw all those guys in there. And I'm really excited about that. This list could go on, but I had to stop it somewhere. But I think these are the guys that you look at and say, okay, these are my playmakers, and these are the guys that are going to really anchor this defense down and really make some noise and really cause some havoc. This is going to be a havoc defense. It's loaded. It's got depth. The offensive line has got depth. The offensive skill positions have got a little bit of depth, albeit in some places unproven. But nonetheless, you got some guys that should be able to do a few things. So, but we're going to switch gears. We're going to switch gears because the Vandy boys, man, after an impressive weekend, this is kind of where you want to be. Where do they stand for postseason? Can they make a run to Omaha? We're going to talk about that next. But first, we're going to talk about FanDuel. Who doesn't love FanDuel? Like I said, here's a promo. Bet the over on 4.5 wins for Vanderbilt in 2025. So here's what you do, right? Also, the NBA playoffs, that's another thing you can bet on. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. These playoffs have been actually pretty good. Whether it's game-winning shot or breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. And FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I love combining live prop bets. I love hitting those over-unders. Like, let's say you get to the third quarter when the game really starts. You know, you go in, you take Golden State. You might get a live odd that's like 8.5, and then you take a prop bet on Steph Curry threes. You probably want to always take the over on that. But I love doing that, right? I love doing the live game stuff. It just helps me kind of keep track. It gets me a little bit into the flow as well. So I'm really a big fan of that. And think about this though. You see somebody heating up, and you're like, oh gosh, okay, I need to take advantage of this. Like you see the Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards. He's starting to heat up, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I got to take advantage of this situation. So here we go. And then think about this. How excited, how stoked would you be if you score $200 in bonus bets when all you had to do was bet $5 and it hit? I would be stoked. How about you? And if you're new to FanDuel, it's a perfect time to sign up. So head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. There's $200 on the line. And if it wins, you get those $200 in bonus bets. So make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Speaking of you everydayers, thank you, everydayers. Thank you. If it's your first time here, I appreciate you. However you found us, please continue to come back. Thank you to the people who are here every day. Thank you to the people who are here part of the time. You're here on Mondays, but you're not here any other. However you listen, however often you listen, whatever the case is, I certainly appreciate it. If you need a second listen, Locked On SEC is the place to go. Chris Gordy, phenomenal job. And of course, Locked On Ole Miss. If you want to hear Steve defend himself after last week's squad show about, us saying that we thought Ole Miss could potentially be overrated and the fact that it might be difficult to replace Austin Simmons. Steve brings great perspective on Ole Miss, and it's really good if you like perspective and commentary. This show alike any show on our network is going to give you really good high quality commentary. So it's going to be great. You should listen to any of the shows out there. But here's the thing. Okay, we'll talk about baseball. Like I said, very impressive series. And the thing I wanted to focus on the last episode is I wanted to focus on the fact that like Vandy plays extremely well when they're pissed off. Like they had that chip on their shoulder. They play super, super well when they do that. It just seems like their focus is heightened. It seems like everything is there. But are they poised to make a run? I think they are. They're finally starting to figure out how to score runs, and they're finally starting to figure out the middle of their lineup. It took a little while, and they had to piece together some ugly wins. But guess what an ugly win is? It's a win. And I don't care how you get them. You're going to have to learn how to win ugly in the postseason. Like those games are ugly. Those games you have to win like that. You have to win scuffling, battling, coming back and hitting a game-winning home run in the ninth inning like Mark Mancini did, and things like that. You're going to have to learn how to do those kind of things. And teams that have a chip on their shoulder, they don't let themselves lose because you don't let yourself lose in those situations because you know what's on the other side. You have a guy that was circling the bases in Knoxville that was yelling at everybody and almost got in like 5 fights on his way around the bases. Next thing you know, you're like, it can get haywire on you. And so this is something that you have to kind of look for. And when you have a team that comes together in those moments, yeah, they come together. They're all pissed off. They all have a chip on their shoulder. It almost seems like they're offended that they're behind. So, it kind of goes like that. So I think they're poised to make a run, but here's their resume because they're going to be, right now they're in prime position to host a regional, super regional, and then they win those two things. Obviously they go to Omaha, but here's kind of what their resume looks like. Okay. You have 15 quad one wins. You have an RPI that's ranked third. You're 16-11 in conference, which is phenomenal. And you get Kentucky. And if you can sweep that series, you can get to 19-11 in the SEC heading into the SEC tournament. This is the last series of the season. Your strength of schedule, you have the second hardest schedule in the country. And your best wins are what just happened in Knoxville because Tennessee's highly regarded, highly ranked. You go on the road, you take 2 out of 3. And, of course, getting that sweep at home against UGA. And their worst loss, of course, is MTSU. You don't love to see those type of losses, but they happen in the sport of baseball. But, I mean, you had won every single midweek game up until then. I think you were dang near flawless in your non-conference schedule. I think you were 15-0 at one point in your non-conference. So this team has really kind of built themselves quite the resume here. And I'm very excited. The guy pictured here, 39, Connor Fennell, is an ace of the staff. I think this has been a tremendous pitching staff and pitching effort for a team that's desperately needed it because they struggled getting the bats going for a large portion of the season. So this is a team that could use that. Ethan McIlvain got him finally a quality outing where he struck out a dude to end the game. He was fired up, man, and he was ready to rock and roll. And it's good to see him get these positive outings and be a guy that ultimately embraces the role of, maybe he's a guy that comes out of the pen. Maybe he's a guy that you get into extra innings, he comes out of the pen and really just kind of settles you down, or a guy that if you need if your starter just gets gets beat up or it just doesn't have his stuff that day, he's a guy that can come in and really just kind of, if he's feeling good, he's got the confidence, he's a guy that can come in and give you 2 quality innings and give way to the next guy en route to eventually getting Sawyer Hawks into the game, which he's been a phenomenal late inning guy. So this pitching staff has been incredible. You have Riley Nelson, Colin Barzey, Brody Johnston, Braden Holcomb, those guys in the middle of the lineup have been absolutely raking lately. They're red hot. RJ Austin has been a guy that he's been hitting the ball well at the plate, kind of overshadowed by the middle of the lineup there. Jonathan Vastine, again, he's been hitting extremely well. And you've got a good solid lineup of guys that are starting to develop in hitters that you don't want to see. So very impressive stuff. I think they're going to be hosting. They really are. And I think they have a chance of getting out of their super regional. I like this team to go to Omaha. I don't know if there's any odds on that. Check FanDuel, but I really like that. So speaking of things that I really like, Oklahoma transfer guard Duke Miles is coming to Vanderbilt. Mark Byington, I think, used his last spot on a guard, and this guard, and he is impressive. I'm really excited about this team that Mark Byington has. And it ends with this transfer here. I think you're going to have a team that can roll 8 guys in there. Hell, you could probably roll 2 separate lineups in there and be just fine with no significant drop off. So it's a good problem to have, really. But we'll talk about it. We'll talk about what that good problem is next. Here's another problem that you don't want to have. And that is managing your money. That's figuring out where did all that money go? Because, if you eat a lot of takeout or you eat out a lot, you dine out a lot, you do a lot of online shopping. Let's say you're addicted to Amazon, or you just want, you just want to go have a good time somewhere. Like maybe you want to go to Topgolf. It's easy to lose track of your money, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances so they don't become a problem and you don't wonder, hey, where's it all going? I can't find it. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop managing your money, start building wealth. We love wealth. Everybody loves wealth, right? And when I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on takeout. Like I instead of cooking, you get real lazy and you're like, hey, I want takeout. And with Monarch Money, you can see those numbers broken down. So now I budget smarter, I save more. And then there's this, it's just so convenient, man. And I don't have to go from app to app to app to figure out where all my accounts. Like you can combine everything into one app. And you can use Monarch to check your finances. You can track your spending, and you can even plan long-term goals. And just think about all the fights you have with your partner, your spouse. Well, this makes it smooth because it's all in one place. You can all see it. So those conversations, they still might get contentious, but that not for the reason of not knowing where money is. Monarch Money, it's all there. You can track your shared and personal accounts. You can set goals, and you can stay on the same page without all the stress. Or minimize the stress as much as possible. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com, man. 50% off your first year. That's incredible. That's 50% off at monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONCollege. That's half off your first year. It's incredible. All right, it got late early, so we might have to extend some of this breakdown of Duke Miles into the next episode. Follow the show at Locked On Vandy anywhere on social media. Let's get these interactions up. Let's do this thing, right? So very, very quickly, this is obviously I'm gonna talk more about Duke Miles on the next episode, but he comes to us from Oklahoma. He averaged 9.4 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 2 assists per game. He shot 50% or 51% from the field, 43% from three-point range. Sharpshooter, right? And the roster's complete. That's it. They're out of scholarships unless somebody decides to leave, quit, whatever. But he is a graduate transfer. This is his 4th school. He played at Oklahoma, High Point, and 3 seasons at Troy. So this guy's a professional college player, right? So he's going to come in, do some sharpshooting, and then he's going to be out. And his highest scoring output came in 2023-24. He averaged 17.5 points per game. And that was when he was playing for High Point. And he at Troy, he averaged 14 points per game. Obviously, with Oklahoma, they have some other playmakers, and he probably wasn't quite as big of a scoring factor as he was at his other stops. But it's going to be fun to kind of watch and see how he fits. I think this is a really good set of guards that Mark Byington has. I think you add that to a really nice and talented front court. On the next episode, we're going to talk about just how that impacts, just how him shooting 43% from 3-point land, how that impacts what this team wants to try to do. And we're going to talk about all of that on the next episode. But until then, like, subscribe, follow on social media. We'll see you back here next time. Locked On Vandy on the Locked On Podcast Network. Behave yourselves. Anchor down. Peace.